Hi, welcome to the session. Vue provides a directive called vModel to create a two-way binding on form inputs. Let's see it in action. Create a data called title and set its initial value to empty string. Create two input fields and bind the title to the vModel directive. Run it and input some text. Yes, you can see it's reactive and two-way bound. Please note, the vModel directive will ignore the initial values of value, checked and selected attributes. So we will have to set the initial value of an input to the data that bind to vModel. Let's see in action. Create some data name, hasPassport and level. Create an input field and set a value. Create a checkbox and set it as checked. Create a select box with options and set one of them as selected. Here we testing value, checked and selected attributes. Here you can see the initial values we had set is working. Let's bind vModel and run it. Yes, there is no effect of setting initial values of value, checked and selected attributes. The vModel is ignoring those. Let's remove those attributes and set the initial values in data. Is it working? The vModel directive uses different properties and events for different form input elements. Let's take a look at it. Text and text area elements uses value property and input event. Checkboxes and radio buttons use checked property and change event. Select fields use value property and change event. Let's check how to do the input binding of text fields. Create a data called name. Create an input field and bind the name to the vModel. Run it and input some text. Check the name from the console. Yes, the name is updated. Let's see how to do the input binding of multi-text fields. Create a data called message. Create a text area and bind the message to vModel. Run it and enter some text. Check the message from console. Yes, the message is updated. Let's see how to do the input binding of checkboxes. Create a data called isAccept and set its value to false. Create a checkbox field and bind isAccept to vModel. Check the field and find the value of isAccept from the console. Yes, the isAccept value updated to true. We can bind an array to the vModel directive if we have multiple checkboxes. Let's check it. Create a data called packages and set its value to an empty array. Create some checkboxes with the value of gold, silver and bronze and bind the packages to vModel. Run it and check. Yes, the value of packages updating. Let's see how to do input binding on radio buttons. Create a data called location. Create some checkboxes with value as city names and bind the location to the vModel. Run it and check. Yes, the location is updating. Let's check how to do the input binding of select fields. Create a data called role. Create a select field and some options with value. Run it and check. Yes, role is updating. We can bind an array to the vModel directive if we have multiple select. Let's check it. Update the role data to roles and set its initial value to empty array instead of empty string. Bind the roles to select and set multiple. Run it and check. Yes, the selected roles are updating to an array. Value binding. We can use the vbind directive to dynamically bind the values of radio buttons and select field options. And we can use two special attributes such as true value and false value to bind checkbox toggle values. Let's see it in action. Create a data called color. Set default value to red and picked value to an empty string. Create a radio button and set the value to the default color and bind picked color to vModel. Run it and check. Yes, the picked color is updated with the default value. Create a data called locations with a collection of locations. Create a data called selected. Create a select field and bind selected to the vModel. Create options. Loop through locations and bind the location. Run it and check. Yes, the options are rendered and the selected value is updated to London. Create a data called isReady and set its value to NOP. Create a checkbox. Set true value to Yep and false value to NOP. Bind isReady to vModel. Run it and check. Yes, isReady updated to the true value Yep. Modifiers. Vue provides a few modifiers such as lazy, number and trim to modify default behavior of input binding. By default, the text and multi-line fields vModel data will sync in input event. That means when we input each character to the field, it will sync to vModel data. We can use the lazy modifier to lazy the sync process by sync on change events instead of input. Let's check it. Create a data called title. Create an input field and bind the title to the vModel. Create a paragraph and bind the title as content. Run it and input some text. Here you can see the sync is happening on the input event. Let's add the lazy modifier. Here you can see now the sync is happening on the change event. We can use the number modifier to automatically typecast an input field as a number. If the input cannot be passed to number, it will return as the original value. Let's check it. Create a data called age and set its value to 0. Create an input field and bind age to vModel. Create a paragraph and bind the type of age. Run it. Here you can see the type is currently number because we set the default value to 0. Try to update the input. Yes, the type is updated to string because the input fields always return value as string. To tackle that, we can add the number modifier. Check it now. Yes, the type is returning number for numeric values and returning string otherwise. Trim is another modifier. We can use it to remove starting and ending white spaces from the input value. Let's see it in action. Create a data called title. Create an input field and bind the title to the vModel. Input some text with white spaces on both ends. Check the value of the title from the console. Here you can see the white space is preserving in the title. We can use the trim modifier to fix that. Add trim modifier to input. Run it and check. Yes, now the white space is removed. Using vModel with components. We can create custom inputs with the components and use vModel in it. Let's check how to do that. Create a component named custom input. Add a template with an input field. Bind the input method to the input event. Create the input method and emit the input event with the target's value as payload. Add a data called title in the parent component. Use the custom input and bind title to the vModel. Run it and check. Yes, the title is updated. Thanks for watching this session. We hope this session helpful for you to understand more about input binding in Vue.js. Please like this video, share it with your friends and colleagues, and subscribe to our channel for more tutorials. Please click on the bell icon for the new videos notification. Let us know your queries via comment. We are happy to answer. Please support us on Patreon. Find the link from the description. We will appreciate that. See you in the next session.